Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is Indy Fanatics, your home for IndyCar content with weekly podcasts and feature videos. Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of the IndyCar Podcast. And unfortunately today we have to start off with some sad news. Stephen has resigned from the channel after Pato finishing outside the top 10 in the weekend's race and his star performer pick just being nowhere. In contrast to me, he has resigned from the channel. Or he's gone on a staycation. That is one of the two. So you are stuck with me all week. So we will be doing, obviously today, we'll be looking at the Indy Grand Prix. We'll be doing a race review right now. Then on Wednesday, we're going to be looking ahead to qualifying for the Indy 500 because that's obviously over the course of next weekend. And on Friday, we will be having a feature video about an Indy 500 legend. I'll give you more on that on Wednesday, but that's certainly one to be looking forward to. But we'll get straight into it. And that is the top 5 moments from the Indy GP. And coming in at point number 1 is the start. And, you know, the starts always are a tricky one to negotiate. Getting through turn 1 is always a difficult one. The front runners got through. Jack Harvey was making a great positions up at the start. I believe he took Joseph Newgarden at the start of this race. But Pato O'Ward ended up going wide and that kind of sabotages the rest of his race. Alexander Rossi also went wide at the corner and didn't sabotage his race, and he will be coming on to, well, actually, let's mention Alexander Rossi. He didn't quite get the P2 podium that I predicted, but P7 was his best result so far. And, you know, in a season where his luck has been so poor and qualifying again was out in Q1, it was a stepping stone to the right direction. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is so strong at the Indy 500. It is maybe the result he needed to go, you know what, maybe things are going to start turning around my luck. I know P7 isn't necessarily the headline performance, especially for Alexander Rossi, but it was something. And the guy who was really unlucky showed fantastic pace, getting through to the fast 6, Connor Daly. He did, I believe, come back and enter the race about 17 laps done, but basically his race was over after turn 1. So that was unlucky for Connor Daly. Point 2, another man who was unlucky. We mentioned he made places at the start, and a guy who probably would have been competing for the race win, definitely would have how the race finished if he had a, you know, no mishaps race, would have ended up on the podium. And that is Jack Harvey, a guy who I think is one of the drivers of the season so far, has to be said. He is doing fantastic with Meyer Shank Racing, and the team just keep getting better and better season on season. It's their second full-time season. So unlucky in Texas race 2. He looked like he would have got a podium there, and he 100% would have got a podium here at the Indy GP, which is kind of almost a home Grand Prix in the States for him. It's, you know, obviously he's British. We always have a soft spot for him here on Indy Fanatics, being a British-born driver. But yeah, really, really unlucky for Jack Harvey. The pit stop, he stalled and then got out. He lost a couple of positions. He would have been able to probably still manage it into a top 10 performance, but would have been left frustrated by the podium. But to doubly pound his losses, he received a puncture and so had to have a slow lap round and go into a pit stop again and get a change of tyres. It was just a disastrous, 5 or so minutes for Jack Harvey. Fingers crossed that his luck turns around at the Indy 500. Big chance for going double points, and it's such a shame because, you know, with all the things that worked out for Jack Harvey so far this season, you're probably looking at a guy that's in the top 5 in the championship, which would be fantastic for Meyer Shank Racing. But that's it. Now, it was a really good race without maybe necessarily too many eventful moments of note. So the next 3 moments are going to be the guys on the podium. So coming in at point number 3 is Alex Palou, another road course. It's the first road course that we've been on since the season opener, which obviously Alex Palou won, and he's on the podium again. And this is really from his, early day junior career, growing up on road courses in Europe, obviously doing it in Super Formula as well. This is where you expect to see Alex Palou shine. And he was the highest finishing Chip Ganassi car. Another fantastic performance for the Spanish driver. Second time he's been on the podium this season, and he maintains a second place position in the championship behind leader Scott Dixon. So that was really superb from Alex. But the weekend was really defined by these kind of top 2 drivers, we should say. Point number 4 is going to be Romain Grosjean. Secured his first IndyCar pole position on the Friday. A brilliant pole lap, getting himself into the Fast 6. And yeah, he just looked an absolute natural. In only his 3rd race in IndyCar, he's adapted to the series incredibly well. Obviously, only running the road and street courses this year, so he wasn't at the Texas doubleheader. But superb for Grosjean. What a race it then was for him, leading the pack, dominating for large parts of the race. But the strategy just didn't quite work out, getting used to that thing that, if you're on the lead lap and fighting to stay on the lead lap, there aren't blue flags within IndyCar. They only really tend to they are in use, but they only really get shown to guys who are 2 or 3 laps down, or just clearly going really slow, or have some sort of damage as well from that situation. The back markers are allowed to fight, and I think he struggled maybe to negotiate that stage. I think Juan Pablo Montoya and Bourdais were maybe potentially guys that he got stuck at for parts of the race. But still, pole position, first IndyCar podium, finishing P2. I said in the preview, I thought it was going to be the racetrack. I backed him to be my rookie performer of the week, and he certainly was that, although Scott McLaughlin still had a fantastic race himself with another top 10 finish. But yeah, Romain Grosjean, superb performance. He's really adapting well to the IndyCar series, and I believe he was quoted saying, when asked, going, how are you looking, what do you see your future in IndyCar? And he's like, I'm looking for homes in the US. I think he really has fallen in love with the series, fallen in love with his racing again. And, IndyCar is where racers go to race, and Romain Grosjean is certainly enjoying that fact. But point number 5, technically the top on the list, and that is race winner, our first-time race winner, our 5th different race winner in the 2021 IndyCar series so far, Rinus Veekay. What a drive it was for him. The big surprise for me on the Friday was he didn't make it into the Fast 6. Now, at this track in Harvest GP Race 1, he secured his first ever pole position. He's won a race here in his Indy Lights campaign. He's very strong around the Indy GP layout, and he showed it. Just brilliant race, making his way up through it. Had the move of the day, which was incredible, with Jimmy Johnson and Alex Palou came out the pits, and Jimmy was trying to find the right place to kind of let Alex pass. It was held up, and Rinus Veekay saw a gap in between. Alex Palou and Jimmy Johnson left a gap in the middle, and Veekay went straight through, and yeah, what an overtake that was. And he was just lightning quick all day, and the strategy just worked out slightly more favourably than Romain Grosjean, because he undercut he pitted before, he was on the kind of already warmed up tyres when Grosjean came out the pits, and he was able to get the overtake done on track. And then from that point on, he shot off into the distance. He was flying. So what a performance from Rinus Veekay, and what a season we are having in IndyCar so far. Scott Dixon, the wily old fox, still performs, and notable performances. Another top 5 finish for Graham Rahal as well. Really solid race. Alexander Rossi, like I said, got in P7. Dixon getting in the top 10, maximising a performance from a poor qualifying. He just didn't really seem to have the pace, but that's what Scotty does. He still gets himself in the position to secure good points and maintains the lead of the championship, and that is why he is a 6-time IndyCar champion. And also a guy who started at the back, Ryan Hunter-Reay, didn't quite get into the top 10, but definitely I feel like was Hunter-Reay's strongest performance of the season. Yeah, and I think actually, well, other than obviously Alexander Rossi, he was the second highest placed out of the Andretti boys. Hinch, unfortunately, hasn't found his place to kind of kickstart his season. So a lot of those Andretti boys, I think someone said in the comments of our Meet the Drivers video that obviously we've got released as our feature video last week on the Saturday. I think Scott was saying he's struggling to come to the terms with that we are 5 races in and a Penske hasn't won and we haven't had an Andretti Autosport car on the podium. It's mad to think. And that just shows how competitive this series is this season, how many top quality drivers they've got. And, you know, young guns are taking the charge with obviously those first time winners in Pato, Veekay and Palou. And, you know, Dixon managing to get his job done in Texas. And also Colton Herta. Oh, sorry, I said not even Andretti being on the podium. What am I on about? Colton Herta smashed it at St. Pete. But, you know, Alexander Rossi, the guys you'd expect to be up there, you'd expect to have seen Newgarden win a race, Pagano, Power to have won a race at this stage of the season, but they haven't. And it's been a great little introduction to the season, but we all know what we've been waiting for now, and that is the Indy 500. The month of May now, that was a nice little warm-up, but we got qualifying this weekend. We've got the race on the 30th of May. For racing's greatest spectacle. Who will become a legend this month or kind of reaffirm their legacy within the sport with either a multiple Indy 500 win? Hope you've enjoyed today's race review, guys. Obviously, just me. But you know, I'm the one who kind of chats on, so we've still got a decent length of podcast, I'm sure. I'll be back on Wednesday, looking ahead to qualifying. We would have had the first practice day on the Tuesday. You can watch, I think, in America, all the practice and qualifying sessions on Peacock, and I'm sure some will be in NBC Sports as well. But yeah, cannot wait that the next time we are on track for a race day is the Indy 500. But congratulations again to Rinus Veekay. And if you're new around here or haven't done so already, you can like, subscribe and ding that bell. But for now, you Indy fans, keep racing!